There we go. All right, Chair, go
Okay,
ahead.
let's go ahead and call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Or, yeah, right? Am I doing mental?
Ron, you ready with the flag?
Yeah.
All right.
So if everyone wouldn't mind standing, and let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which
for which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation, under
under God, indivisible,
with
with
liberty and
liberty and
justice
justice
for all. Okay, and go ahead and have a seat, and let's, my computer doing crazy, sorry. Let's go ahead and seat everyone. Let's do a roll call. Would you, Renee, mind doing the roll call?
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Here.
Commissioner Current,
Here.
Commissioner Cadoy,
Here.
alternate Montemayor,
Yes.
Commissioner Ehart,
Present.
and that's who we've got. So you can actually seat, you can go ahead and seat Montemayor tonight, Chair.
Okay, we'll go ahead and sit Montemayor and move on to approving of the agenda. Does everyone have well, we have it here in front of us. Can we slow down a little bit on it and let's all look at it very fast? Or if you have your own to pull up, please do. And whenever someone's ready to make a motion, please do.
I don't see the whole one, but was it the same that was sent to us earlier?
Yeah, it's the same one you got last week. So you should have all reviewed that. So we just need a motion to approve.
I move to approve September 13th agenda.
I would.
second.
Okay, we got to think Baltimore would Voltaire the first motion to second. So then let's do a roll call to approve.
Okay, this is the motion to approve the agenda. Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Ehart,
Yes.
Commissioner Cadoy,
Yes.
Commissioner Montemayor,
Aye. Oh,
and
yes.
that's it. And Commissioner Current.
Yes.
Okay, and then move on to approving the minutes from last month's meeting. Have we all looked at it? Do anyone need it pulled up or?
No, you guys should read the one that was in your packet.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve last meeting's minutes.
And I second.
So we got a second. Can we do a roll call for approval?
Sure, I'm gonna go down the list. If you were not present August 2nd, you will need to abstain from this vote, just as FYI. So we have Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Montemayor,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Ehart,
Muted.
oh, you good? Okay. I saw you mouth yes. Commissioner Current,
Abstain.
thank you. And Commissioner Cadoy,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
And then we have no one from the public for the forum. Am I
That's
correct?
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
so we'll move into item 8 of whoever presenting.
Can you scroll down, Ron, just a little bit? scroll down just a skosh. There you go. All right, so good evening, Commissioners, Vice Mayor. We have our Public Works staff here with us tonight. We have Director of Public Works, Tony Nda, and he will be giving a presentation on the Heritage Tree Program, which is something that's come up a couple times and the Commission asked to come back. So I'm gonna share my screen, Ron, and pull that presentation up. Oops, my screen has other plans. Just give me 1 second. All right. Okay, I'm going to do the obligatory. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
And I'll see nods and then we'll move forward. Tony, are you ready?
Yep.
I'm ready.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
All right. Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission, our Vice Mayor. Thank you for the invite today to come and speak about our Heritage Tree Program for the city of Milpitas. I'm going to go over just a few slides here and then open up for questions later on. So next slide, please. Let's go to the next slide, please. There we go. So just wanted to start here. I know this is not the Heritage Tree Program that we're talking about in this slide here, but wanted to give everyone a perspective on just the sheer numbers of trees that we have here in our city and what that portfolio really looks like. So if you look at our highest number there being of other trees, about 8,000 other trees, but we do have 1,700 trees at London Plane Tree. The value of those trees are about $2 million. So when you look at our infrastructure and our trees that we have here in our city, about over 17,000 individual trees here in our city worth upwards of about $44 million. So that's great value that you look at the different things that trees can do for our city. Of those 17,000 trees that we have in our city, 83 of those have been designated as heritage trees and they've received the heritage tree status. Next slide, please. So the program goals, what are the program goals for our Heritage Tree Program? There are three main goals that we really focus on. One is to help raise awareness about the heritage trees in the city. These provide very important contributions to the people in Milpitas, so we want to make sure to raise awareness about that. The other item here is to recognize and protect individual trees and groves, and you'll see some examples later on of the different groves and trees that we have in our city. And then the last one here is to establish a heritage tree designation in accordance with our ordinance. Our ordinance does have a description here about the Heritage Tree Program for our city. So the program goals really are to make sure we keep in touch with these three things. Next slide. So how does a tree get designated? So either one, so it starts off with if it's an outstanding species, and you can see some of the great trees we have in our city that have an outstanding species on them. We look for some of the oldest and tallest trees in the city, and those can get nominated as a heritage tree. And then some of the trees have distinctive forms, different sizes, different locations, things like that. When you have those distinct characters of the tree, it can be nominated as a heritage tree for our city. Next slide. And the process starts off with anyone can nominate a tree, but you do need consent from the property owner first. So we don't go around nominating our neighbors' trees without their consent on it first. So that's very important. And then once you identify a tree that you want to nominate and get the homeowner's consent, the heritage trees nomination form is submitted to our Public Works Department for our review. Once we review that, notice that would come back to the PRCRC, this commission right here, would then review the order. We really want to have those reviews occur in May and October of each year. Go to the next slide. And once this commission here goes ahead and agrees on the designation, that is now forwarded to the city council, and then the city council makes the final approval, and then it goes through and gets coded by a city clerk, and then notification goes out to the property owner in writing that the tree is now officially a heritage tree in the city of Milpitas. Next slide. So the inventory that we have is compiled by our department and maintained by the city clerk. Again, we have 83 of those trees that have been designated so far. The tree list includes all kinds of trees. Those are historical trees, cultural significance, their sizes, their age, their value. Those are the characteristics that we look at. And then the heritage tree subject provisions of our ordinance. So again, just kind of recapping some of the items that we had in the previous slide. And next slide, please. Now, the process for removal of a tree from the heritage tree list goes along the same technique that we went through to designate a tree in the first place. So the first thing you need to do as a city council is the one that has to then dial everything back. So you go to the city council to get a tree on the list. They'd have to be the same body that takes it off the list as well. It starts off with the property owner submitting a request in writing. Then the removal has to come back to this commission here for approval before it goes to city council for them to officially remove it off the list. Next slide. And that's the short and sweet presentation there on our Heritage Tree program. I'm open for any questions that folks may have, and we can talk through that.
I have a question. This is Commissioner Current. I would assume that when you, or perhaps you can tell me that, what is the significance of being designated as one of these special trees? Is the landowner? I assume it means they can't cut the tree down or damage the tree in any way. Are there other limitations on use, or what's the import of it other than just recognizing that this tree is special?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So yes, so recognizing that a tree is special is the first and probably the most prestigious part of the program. If you have a tree of a certain character and designation, that is something that is to have some pride on, I think, as a property owner. As far as tree removals go in the city, that process is codified in our ordinance, and there is a set process for removing a tree, whether it's on public or private property. You do have to go through and pull your permits through our planning department, and depending on whether it's a heritage tree, then we have to go through this process that we laid out here today. If it's a private tree, we do ask for some mitigation to also come along with that. So on the most part, you'll see a 2-to-1 replacement that's called out for that. So, but the main thing is really the prestige that comes along with having a tree on your lot or in an area designated as a heritage tree for the city and really spoken of by our council.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is the sycamore tree at the Alvisa Adobe one of the 83?
I need to pull, Randy, you want to pull up the list here so I don't speak out of turn? Okay.
Yes.
And I know there's a sycamore tree on that list, and
yeah,
so
10.
the Higuera Adobe, there is a sycamore tree there. Yes.
Yeah, number 10.
Yes.
I think there should be some process for designating all sweet gums as just hazardous trees in general, because I have one on my property and I've nearly killed myself several times by stepping on those little balls. But I guess probably you don't do that. I don't know why we have so many of them planted in the city, and they must grow quickly. And I guess they do provide nice shade, but boy, are they a pain. Goodness.
Can we have that list emailed to us? Or is it on the website or something?
I don't know that the full list, Tony, is on the website, but we can send you guys the full list of the 83.
That'd be awesome.
Sure,
That would be
sure.
awesome. Thank you for
Yeah.
asking for that. I'd love to see that. I
think-
love these old trees. That's wonderful.
And I think that these 11 trees represent, I think 11 of the newest ones, right, Tony? As of
Yeah, so-
2013.
Yeah, so this is the list that is current as of 2013. From our research, we don't believe that any additional trees have been added since then. I guess the word is get the word out, and let's get some more going.
Our vice mayor has her hand up.
Thank you. A couple of questions. Hi, Tony. I guess I'm trying to define what is a heritage tree. Is that significantly the age of the tree? Is that the moving?
Yeah, age plays a factor into it. The tree height plays a factor. And then some of the trees, just some of the trees in terms of just their structure and how they look, have some really cool characters to it. So they get designated as a heritage tree as well. And then we have some photos. You saw in the photos of some of the slides there. Some of the trees really grow in really these weird, funky ways that are just really cool to try to preserve. So that's what makes it a heritage tree.
So do we have an arborist, a city arborist that validates that these are trees that are old? You know, how do they measure how old they are? How do they determine the age?
Yeah, so a lot of the trees, the age of a tree is usually determined by the diameter they call it diameter at breast height. So when you stand at that tree and measure diameter of it, you can get a sense for how old that tree is just based on an overall diameter at breast height. So that's one of the main designations that's used to determine a tree's age.
So who comes up with the list, the arborist or just anybody?
So the process starts with the resident first, or anyone in the community working with a property owner, designating a tree, and then it comes to this commission here for that recommendation to city council. So without that step, it's not just you can't just have anyone in the city just go out and say, yeah, my tree is a heritage tree. You have to follow the process, and council has the ultimate power to designate the tree once it goes through this formal process of a written request to the Public Works Department. And then from the Public Works Department, it gets recommended here to this commission, then it pushes on city council for that final designation.
Okay, so then there's a criteria, then there's like certain, in order to be a heritage, to be designated as a heritage tree, you know, there's certain questions that need to be answered, and we have that.
That is correct, yes.
That application, okay. And then the last question is, I recall back in, I think 2014, we designated one of the trees as a heritage tree or a city tree. And I think it's the one with the purple, what is that called? Jacaranda.
Mhm.
Yeah, now that was back then. And is that still our city tree, I guess, if you will?
We haven't taken steps in our department to not say that's a city tree because I mean, obviously Public Works doesn't have the power to do that. We'd have to go through our council. What we have done though of our department is, and back in late 2018, 2019, we had a tree survey completed for all the trees in the city. And what the arborist did during that assessment was trying to define, based on the zones we have in the city, what species would work best for those areas. So what we're trying to do from our side is, when we're looking at our tree replanting programs, is try to plant trees in the city that we know will perform the best in those different areas in the city. And then not just go with what looks the prettiest, but we want things that will actually survive.
Yeah, I was in the council at the time when it was voted to designate the jacaranda tree as a city tree. I don't know if it's the same as city tree or heritage tree, but I think that needs to change. I think the oak tree should be our heritage tree because, you know, they're old and they've been there. You see them around different spots, and that's a historical tree that maybe the Parks and Recs can recommend that. I'm not sure if they want to. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I have another question. I had my hand raised, I think.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm wondering if you're a member of the public and you want to find out, for example, I'm seeing here that there's one of these trees is on my street. So I'm excited. I'm going to go look at it tomorrow because I love trees. How would a member of the public find out why? Number one, that a tree has been designated as a member of the heritage tree. And second of all, why? You know, that it's aged or that it has, you know, a particularly unique shape or characteristic, or how would you find it out? Is that information available to citizens in Milpitas?
It is information that's available to citizens, and we can certainly provide that when the requests come in. Because of the process that it takes to designate a tree as a heritage tree, all this information is recorded. So we would have that information available. I know on the list that you see in front of you right now, there is one on item number 11 on there, which we just didn't have enough information for when we're trying to do our research for today. So that's why that's listed as a pending. But all the other 10 items on the list there, we do have information on the rationale for why it was picked as a heritage tree.
So would someone contact who would they contact? How would they find this? Is it
You're more
available on the
than-
website,
yeah.
or would they have to actually write into you and ask
You're
you?
more than welcome to send an email to the Public Works Department, and we can address that for you. You can send it directly to me, or send an email to Milpitas Works and I would. Matter of fact, let me just reach out to Renee rather than go through our long email address system, and I can send that information your way.
I believe, Tony, there's a heritage tree page on the city's website, and some of that criteria is listed there along with the application.
That is correct.
So one could go there too, Molly, and then if you have
Okay.
specific questions, we can help you.
That's great. Thank you. Well, the important thing is, if part of what we want to do is develop an appreciation for these trees and an understanding of that they're special trees, people need to be able to find out about that. And so I just want to be sure there's a way for those citizens of Milpitas that are interested in trees, that they can access this information.
Any other hands, Chair?
Oh, yeah, well, there. So being a heritage tree, let's say, is kind of protected because of it serves as to beautify the city, or it's really, it's really an asset somehow, right? Maybe.
Yes, and yes. So all our trees in our city are assets, and that's why, at the start of this presentation, we started out with showing you the value of the trees. Some folks may look at it as just a tree growing. I think when you do an assessment to the nature of which we've done, you recognize that it's a lot of value to it. So the heritage trees really are something that I think you can take it as something that doesn't or shows the character of the city. When you look at some of these trees that have been designated as heritage trees, it's a lot of character to them. So that's the really important piece, is kind of preserving that character, preserving that history, and things like that.
And there's a regular maintenance, or you watch them, you take care of them, right? The city.
For the trees that are on city property, on city right of way, correct.
Thank you.
And our Vice Mayor has her hand up again.
Sorry for that. I just had one last question. So I noticed we have a lot of California pepper trees in the city of Milpitas that have been here for quite a long time. There's some on South Main Street, and there's some on South Milpitas Boulevard. I'm hoping that I can't see I know you said we have 80 something trees on that list, 83, but here you only have 11. So I'm hoping that some of them are listed on there. And there is one, the one on South Main Street is on the land that is going to be developed. And I want to make sure that it is not uprooted. It needs to be preserved. So if you can make sure that it stays there. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Which
It's
parcel?
it's over there by the independent, the independent living, the new.
Oh, okay.
It's on that land.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
We'll take a look.
And it looks like item number 6 has 66 trees. So that makes up the 83, right?
That is correct. Thank you for
Okay.
pointing that out, Commissioner
Oh.
Jackson. Yes, and so there are 11 locations, but each location has a certain number of trees on them, the biggest of which being is the Higuera Adobe Olive Grove. And I have to make sure I emphasize Olive Grove there, because it's quite a few trees in there. So
Yeah, that grove, historically, that grove is actually the trees lining the lane that used to go from the Adobe and actually the Kurtner Mansion or the Kurtner House down to the old Oakland Highway. And so I don't know if there's I'm curious if there are 66 still standing within the Higuera Park, But anyway, like I said, that lane was actually the driveway, if you will, between the residence and Old Oakland Road, which is a pretty good distance away.
Yeah, if I could kind of chime in, that used to be the road to the people used to take that road. That was during the Rancho days, during the Mexican period. And they used to go to the Mission San Jose. That was their church when they would go to church. They would go in the buggies. It was actually made horses. That was way back before the gold rush.
Yeah, Carmen. It was an east-west road, and it was basically going from, well, the Adobe, but also the Kirtner house, which is nearby. And I think the Kirtners would have taken that back in, the old days, the early 1900s, down to the highway.
Yeah.
There was no freeway. There was most of the houses that we see today and the schools like Milpitas High and so on. I mean, they didn't exist then. It was just agricultural ranch land.
Yeah, we used to play in that Adobe. It was all when we were kids. There was no freeway. There was no 680. I mean, imagine that. Anyway, moving on.
But to your point, Vice Mayor, about the pepper trees, we'll send this list out, and then we will also send the link so that if you do have a desire to nominate any trees, then you can go ahead and see what that process is with the application.
Okay, great. Thank you.
If you're worried about the pepper trees, yeah, no problem. Okay. Were there any other questions for Tony on the Heritage Tree Program?
Thanks for the information.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you very much. I'm not seeing any more hands, Renee, so I guess we are good to move on to the next. There's no actionable item here, right?
No, this is receive the report. So if you've received it, then you're good.
Great. Well, once again, thank you. And I'm actually going to look at some of those TEDs. Yeah, I didn't know.
Great. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to our next agenda item of the community garden presentation.
All right, it is a night of presentations. So next up is Recreation and Community Services staff. We have our program coordinator, Anne-Marie Asis, and supervisor at the Milpitas Senior Center, John Macon. They oversee the community garden program at the Cesar Chavez Garden. So I'm going to share my screen again and pull up the right presentation. All right. And I think everyone can see that. Head nods. All right. Anne-Marie, you ready?
I am ready.
All
Thank
right.
you, Renee.
Okay.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, and Vice Mayor Montano. Thank you for giving me some time to speak tonight with you regarding the community garden. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview about the community garden. So the Cesar Chavez Garden is a joint use area, and it was a project between the Milpitas Unified School District and the city. It's located on the Weller Elementary property. The city operates and maintains the program and the site infrastructure. The garden actually has 47 plots, all of which are assigned to MUSD. They actually have 3 plots, and the rest of the plots actually belong to the plot owners or plot holders. 8 were actually just relinquished, so I filled those from our current wait list, which actually has 101 residents left on the wait list after I gave out the 8. Just as a note, we actually give out the plots sequentially. So there is quite a bit of people on there. There's 101. Each plot has its own recycled water access. In order to access the recycled water, you have to use a quick coupler and a water key. The garden actually has a potable water sink, and that's so that you can wash your hands or wash any of the produce or any of your vegetables. And there is a drinking fountain on site if you wanted to have a drink of water. Next slide, please. This actually is a map from overhead, and you could see that there are about 47 plots. In the middle, you'll notice that the washing sink and the drinking fountain is right there. On the west gate, that is actually facing the Weller School. On the right-hand side, where it says the south gate, that is one where one could go through with a vehicle if you have the right access for that. Most of the plot owners normally just drive in because they have heavy items, but then they know that they're supposed to actually leave and park their car out into the neighborhood. Next slide, please. This is actually a slide of some current pictures from the garden. It's actually flourishing right now. A lot of gardeners are actually clearing out most of their vegetation. So they're getting ready. They're actually rototilling and getting ready for the new season. But there are quite a few people still working on their plots. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, it is a recycled water. We use recycled water there. The city converted it, or the irrigation system to recycled water in November 2016 and worked till October 2017 when it was reopened to the plot owners. Engineering, recreation, and public works all work together to reopen the garden. To be in compliance, you have to make sure that, or we make sure that all the plot holders and anyone that they list on their agreement as assistants, they have to go through the recycled water training class prior to actually gaining access to the garden. As they renew or as they become a new member, the recycled water training that I will actually can't think of the word right now, present. I will go over the recycled water process, the procedures, what is recycled water, how is it produced, what you can use it on, and then also the soil and plant health factors and what the difference is between potable water and recycled water. I'll also go over the rules and regulations, the management of who the site supervisor is, which would be me and John as we go out there monthly. We'll go over the growers agreement. I'll go over how to use the quick coupler, the water key, and the different kinds of, or the main hose, which is only for recycled water. And then of course, I'll remind them that we have to do an annual refresher every year. I'll also go over the approved equipment, which is actually the next slide. You could go on to that one for me, Renee. Thank you. So this right here, the picture to the right where it shows the recycled water, it's portrayed as purple. So you have to, whenever you see a drain that has purple on it, it means that it's recycled water. And you'll see that there's a ball valve, a quick coupler, a purple hose, and a water key, and all of that works together in order for the participant or the plot holder to access the water. Next slide, please. Just a little bit of benefits and some requirements and causes for revocation. The benefits, it's definitely stress reducing. Gardening increases hand-eye coordination. It helps to keep the brain and body in sync. Gardening also has a calming effect, which affects mood positively. Vitamin D, a few hours of exposure to sunshine will provide necessary vitamin D. Socialization, the community garden provides an opportunity for positive socialization with others sharing the same passion. And just a quick tip, I've actually been there many times now and meeting the different gardeners. They do just love being out there and getting their exercise and actually talking with the other gardeners. The requirements for the garden is that you must be a Milpitas resident. There is an annual fee The annual fee is $60 for anyone 49 and below, and $15 for anyone 50 and above. And you also do sign a rules and regulations agreement, so you do have to comply with all of that. This is just a small list of causes for a revocation. One definitely is a garden plot that lays fallow, non-compliance and or disregard of the rules and regulations and policies, and not meeting guarded deadlines. So if I were to send you in a letter or an email or phone call stating that I need you to come in to do the water training and you don't meet that, that could be a cause for revocation. Next slide, please. The next things that I have on my list that we will be doing, and that's coming up in the community garden, is that the monthly inspections, as I mentioned before. I will be conducting recycled water training for the 8 new participants and a refresher course for the other participants that have just renewed. We're also partnering with Public Works for the garden upkeep, for the placement of wood chips, and the pre-scheduled debris clearing and removal dates. We're also going to be reviewing and updating the community garden rules and regulations for review at an upcoming PRCRC meeting here with you. And the new thing that I'm going to be starting is a coordination of a gardener social, where we could actually meet the other gardeners. I know that they already do this, but it has been requested that they would like to safely meet together in a socially distant activity where they can just meet the new plot owners and perhaps probably give some tips and maybe share some of their vegetables. But that is definitely something that I will be wanting to do every quarter. But next slide, please. Thank you. And that is it. Do you have any questions? Thank you for your time.
Great. Any questions for staff on the garden?
Maybe.
The garden, yeah, the garden is on your work plan. It is something that if there's changes to the rules or anything like that, it does go through the PRCRC, and then ultimately the council approves any changes. So we will be coming back. There's just, you know, every few years you got to take a look at the rules and regs and see what might be out of date or a procedure that no longer works.
I have a question. I think if I understood correctly, there are over 100 people that are on the waiting list. I'm wondering whether the interest, that's unusual, or whether the interest is consistently been that high. And if it has been, I'm wondering whether the city has considered expanding the garden.
Yeah, great question. So Anne Marie and John and staff at the Senior Center just did a big undertaking. They went through the whole list, double checked and verified everyone's residency again to see who was still interested. And the list is still at 101. We have new people that ask to be put on the list every week or every month.
Mm-hmm.
So the list is typically that long. And we did shift or make a move. The council did approve going to residents only a few years back. So that helps the list a little bit. But to your point about expanding gardens, we actually are adding another community garden over at the new McCandless Park that'll be opening in 2023. So there's future gardens planned there. And then also, as was reported a couple meetings ago as part of our Parks and Rec master plan, that was one thing that the community was also interested in, was an additional community gardens. So for our residents who have maybe no backyard, or the park is their backyard, or they have a balcony instead, gardens are of great interest. So we've got that now reflected in the master plan, and then already planned and approved as part of the new park that's opening in about 1.5 years.
Well, that is terrific to hear. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm a gardener myself.
Oh, good.
You know, it's a very beneficial activity for you if that's something you're into. And I'm embarrassed that I didn't even know about this program. But I'm so glad to hear that it exists and that
Yeah.
and that there are plans to expand it. That's great news. Thank you.
Oh, about a eventual kind of a dream or hope that someday it could be a tourist spot, and then we may produce income because there will be competition out of the many plots, and I think it's wide enough for people to have interest in seeing them. So I think if we do it, we improve it to the best of it, then maybe we will encourage people, attract people to see it, and we make some income someday. Thank you.
Question, how often are the plots turned over so that new people can come in?
There are no, for lack of a better term limits on the plots themselves. We have done periodically just checking in with other gardens around the Bay Area, municipally run gardens, and it's really hard to do a term limit. It does take some time, which means years, to develop the soil the way you need to grow. So if the commission is interested, we can bring that information to you, and we bring back the rules and regulations. But like Anne Marie said, we just had 8 plot holders that we've been working with who were no longer able to work the plots or had left Milpitas, had recently moved, and so we had 8 new plots that we're able to turn over to new people on the wait list. So the other way we can get plots, I guess, turned over, no pun intended, is if people do miss those deadlines, they have to absolutely, no question, take part in that recycled water training. So if they miss that, then they forfeit their plot. If they do let the land go fallow, which means basically not work it or only work it for one season, that's not what the plot's meant for. So if anyone was wondering what fallow meant, we learned that a couple years ago. So those are reasons why the plots can have turnover, but no term limits right now.
We had 8 this time. Is there a norm, like every year you expect 1 or 2 people to fall off, or that's 8 with kind of an anomaly?
I think the 8 was kind of an anomaly.
Okay.
Typically it's less than that, or maybe none at all. Yeah, there's no way to even guess what that might be.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I have a question, Chair.
Yes.
Through the chair. Thank you. Let me lower my hand before I forget. So Renee, you mentioned that we have no term limits. So how many folks are on the waiting list right now, and how long have they been on that waiting list?
The waiting list is 101 right now, and we did go through it thoroughly and checked in with every single person. So what was the oldest, or excuse me, what was the farthest entry into the waiting list? What year was that? Do you remember, Anne Marie?
I know when it was being turned over from 2017, I think when I was talking with a few of the wait lists, they did say they were on it for about 5 or 6 years.
Okay, well, that's good to know, but because I really think that there should be term limits. People need to have a chance to have a garden. I'm thinking maybe we could bring this back to the city council, or maybe
As a gardener, as a gardener,
start from here, start at the Parks and Recs department, because I think maybe 2 or 3 year term limits, and it gives other people an opportunity. I'm a gardener too, so I know that I just planted some tomatoes. They turned out pretty good, but I do it in my backyard. And but yeah, I think it's fair that we have term limits, because the 101 on the waiting list is quite a huge number. Yeah.
But why not solve that problem by providing more opportunities? 1 or 2 years is not enough time to even figure out what grows in a particular place. Let's get the soil in place. I would be very much against term limits. I mean, people will have different views on that. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just telling you, I would be against that way of approaching the problem. I would rather see, I mean, you don't need that much space. I would be more in favor of trying to find additional garden space. Why not make this opportunity available for more people that way than telling somebody that they can only use this space for 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, well, they can get on the waiting list again. And like it's like
The gardens don't work that way.
Renee
You
said,
know.
we are going to be creating a new one, but that's in the south side of town. And, you know,
Right.
yeah, that would be good too. Gardening is it's the new mode. People want to grow their own food, and
Yeah.
I think it's just for me, it's a question of equity. You know, be fair.
Yeah. I think what we could do, we'd already planned to bring back rules and regs. We can also we've done this work a couple times over now, just a review and a comparison of other gardens in the area and how they operate. And then we can look at, garden plot size and term limits and all those things. And then we can have that agendized and you guys can discuss that. And then whatever comes out of that, then the commission makes that recommendation to city council. So we can definitely bring that back.
That's great. And then, by the way, the Open Space Authority, I used to serve on that. They, there was some type of a sales tax or something that was passed and a couple of years ago, and they do give out grants for community gardens. So if you can look into that, that would be really great.
Sure. Yeah. Great.
Thanks.
Right. Any other questions about the garden for tonight? We will be bringing it back. Yeah, Rondi.
It might be interesting, the people that do have those plots, where they're actually located in Milpitas, because there might be some down in South Milpitas and North and whatever. And if there's going to be new gardens coming up, then they could be relocated perhaps to closer to their homes.
Okay.
So that might open more. Just a thought.
Okay. We can do a little demographic map. That won't be too hard. And then the 3 plots that the school district has, Weller typically uses those with the kids, and they do gardening with the school children. And I know there's a number of other elementary schools have gardens on their property as well. And the teachers, it's like a recess or an after school activity. It's not a joint use agreement like this one, but there are other gardens operating, just not in this type of partnership. Okay. Any other questions? I'll get gardening tips from the vice mayor for tomatoes for next season.
Question?
Yes, Joe.
That's in Augustine Park, and the Achachi Trail is on the west edge of that garden. It's a lot of, I don't know if we want to call it lawn, there's actually a lot of unused space just to the west of the trail. That was between the trail and the school. Yeah, we were just there cleaning that area. Actually, Carmen was there with me too, and I think, was it Deepak, Carmen? But anyway, there's other space at that north end of the Augustine Park, it seems to me, and especially just to the west. But then you'd have to have water and things. There might be some city development issues, but that would be it's just completely blank space. I mean, we were cleaning litter, and the space I'm referring to, just to the west of the community garden, doesn't look particularly interesting as a park, and it might be interesting as an expansion of the garden. Anyway, just a thought.
Okay. I know there's some access for SFPUC on the Hetch Hetchy Trail, so we do have to be careful. There are easements. They'll be the first to tell you they're in the water business. They're not in the park business. And so we have to be careful with that. But yeah, that land, that's district property, but I think as part of, future work with the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, there might be other areas where you've got open space where, the city may want to look at, other garden areas or garden spaces where there are none.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the more that they're dispersed throughout the city, that means the more plots are available more close to where they're actually living.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other?
Voltaire, yeah, I still wish for a competition per plot, and there will be an honor. It will be an attraction to people. We will visit it. I mean, everybody will want to see it, like the biggest pumpkin, let's say. But anyway,
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay.
those competitions will encourage people to see that area. Thank you.
I was in there in 2020, just when the pandemic hit. We did a walkthrough just for programming purposes, and I think I saw the largest sunflowers I've ever seen in my entire life. They're about 10 feet tall. It was like being in Willy Wonka in the chocolate factory with these large sunflowers. So there's some very impressive and very skilled gardeners in that garden. So I saw Anne Marie look down in writing that, you know, we can always do some fun programming out there. And then where we may not bring people into the garden, we might have something in Augustine Park next to it just to showcase that hard work. So great suggestion.
I have one last question, because this issue has come up before. There was someone had mentioned to me anonymously that some people were, certain individuals were using the plot to sell. Is that legal? Can we to sell their vegetables? So what are our rules and regulations on that?
It's not for resale. So part of the rules and regulations are you're supposed to grow it for your own consumption or your family's consumption, but it's not for you to grow and then go and sell at a farmer's market. So that is one of the rules. There's been a couple times we've been made aware that that was going on, and then we worked individually with the plot holder to stop the practice. Yeah.
And that's written in the rules.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right. I don't see any other hands, Chair.
Neither do I. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be back with this item and a lot more in the next couple months.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Thank
Thank
you,
you
Anne
very
Marie.
much.
Thank you, John.
So that takes us to city liaison reports. Is there any city staff report, anything that needs to be reported from city staff or anything?
Yes, I have a couple. So you'll see a new face on Zoom today, or maybe a familiar face actually. So we have Josh Clevenger. Josh is our new Recreation and Community Services Supervisor at the Milpitas Sports Center. Rosanna retired last month, and Josh, she's very happy watching the US Open. But Josh has come back actually. Josh was our events and volunteers coordinator, and he left in 2019 and went to City of Salinas and City of North Las Vegas. And when this opening made itself out there into the world of open applications, Josh just couldn't resist coming back to the City of Milpitas family. So we're very happy to have Josh back. He's very experienced. He's got aquatics and youth sports, park management, capital improvement program, youth programs, special events. He was a great asset to the Recreation and Community Services team when he was with us the first time, and he'll be even a greater asset now that he's back in this new role. So Josh will be working with me and Justin and Ron with IT on this meeting every month. So welcome, Josh.
Welcome.
And some of you will be working with him through the youth sports program as well.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Nice to
everyone.
meet you. Nice to meet you, Josh.
So this is his first day, and I was like, hey, what are you doing tonight? You should come to a commission meeting. So
Yeah.
Welcome.
happy to have him back. So just a couple other things as the world starts to return to events quasi-normally. We have some really exciting things coming up. Number one is our Hispanic Heritage flag raising this Friday. Our Vice Mayor suggested and got that approved through our City Council. That's this Friday at the Cesar Chavez Plaza from 5 to 6 p.m. So we have our Consulate General from Mexico. That's going to be our keynote speaker. I know our Vice Mayor is going to be giving the invocation. We have some mariachis are going to be playing music. And so I think we're really proud to have that inaugural flag raising. Vice Mayor, did you want to say anything else about that?
Yeah, this is the first time that in the history of Milpitas that we will be doing that. I mean, we've had several other flag raising ceremonies. You know, we have the Vietnamese, we have a Filipino and Chinese, I think. And so I figured, well, why not? We have a large Hispanic population in the city of Milpitas, and I think it's just overdue. So, and there's going to be mariachis there too. So if you like mariachi music, there'll be some mariachis there too. It's fun. Please come on down, bring your kids.
Yeah. I'm bringing mine. We like our mariachis. So thank you, Vice Mayor, for adding that to our flag ceremony schedule. That's really great.
Yeah.
So that'll be this Friday. Then we have Pumpkins in the Park is coming back. That's October 23rd, which is a Saturday. And then we also have, if you haven't heard, we have an ice rink coming to Milpitas, what do we call it? A synthetic ice rink coming. It's December 4th through December 19th, 16 days of holiday magic on Main Street. That was another one of our Vice Mayor and City Council projects to revitalize Main Street. So that'll be the city lot right across from the Valley Medical Building. There will be ice skating and music, literally magic, magicians, street performances, community groups performing. There's ice skating every day, field trip possibilities for schools or community groups. On the weekdays, we have some really cool themed days. We have ugly sweater party, stocking stuffer night. If you have four-legged children, you can bring them down for Santa Paws night and get a picture with Santa Claus. Date night, a nostalgia night. We'll be showing classic movies and The Grinch and just a whole bunch of stuff. So we're going to have 16 crazy days of holidays down on Main Street. And I hope all of you will be able to join us, come down and have fun. And as part of the revitalization, we also have a butter block event in early November. So I will send you all everything that's coming up in the next couple months, because there is quite a lot. And really proud to be back out there in the community and providing opportunities for everyone to gather and socialize safely. So I think that's it for me, Chair. Was there anything you wanted to add, Vice Mayor, to that?
Is there did you say there was going to be food trucks there? There will be food for.
Oh yeah, food trucks, Main Street businesses or restaurants if they want to come down as well. So we'll have food and drink, and we are going to make it snow a couple times a day as well down there. So we're gonna have fun.
Yeah, it's gonna
You're
be
gonna
really,
make it snow. Now I'm totally sold on this now.
Now you have to come. Yeah.
Now
So
I gotta come, yeah.
yeah.
it's all for the families and the children.
Yeah. It'll be
It's gonna
fun.
be great. Great job, staff.
Thank
One
you.
more time on the schedule on Friday, what time and the duration of the gatherings?
This Friday, it's 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Cesar Chavez Plaza, right behind the Senior Center.
I thank you.
Yeah.
And there'll be food there, right, Renee?
I think we got food and we got music, and we got a great keynote speaker, and some of our local assembly member I know is coming to give a proclamation. So we're excited.
That's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. All right.
Awesome. Any Vice Mayor, do you have anything you would like to say?
We did form a ad hoc subcommittee, and that's for the revitalization of Main Street. And I think that's it for my announcements. And that's it.
Cool. Thank you. And I think we are good. Do we have, Renee, I see you have a couple things on here for upcoming agenda items. Anything that we need to prepare for?
I don't think so. When we pin down a date to review the garden, we'll send the rules and everything to you guys well in advance, so you can take a look at that, what's current. And then we've done data dives on other gardens in the area. So we'll send that information out as well. And I think we'll follow up with that heritage tree list so everyone can take a look, and then links if you want to nominate another tree.
Awesome. Well, I think we are good. Unless there's anything else, I think we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting
Great.
and see you all next month.
Great meeting.
See you Friday. Friday at 5
Yeah, it's Friday.
Yes.
Good night, everyone.
All
Good
right,
night.
have a good night.
Night.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.